Hello everyone, this is Deandra Grant and welcome to the Ask Deandra video series where I answer the most commonly searched questions on the internet about DWI in Texas. This corresponds with my blog series, Ask Deandra, and so if you look down in the description on this video, you will see a link to the blog that corresponds with today's question. So today's question is, what is the penalty for a third DWI or more in Texas? A DWI third in Texas is a felony DWI. It means that you have two or more prior DWI, either convictions or even one of them could be a deferred adjudication. And now you've got a third one. There is no look back period in Texas. Many states have that. Texas got rid of theirs years ago. And what that means is some states will only count DWI convictions for like the past 10 years, but Texas doesn't have that law. So you could have had a DWI conviction in 1984, you could have one from 1992. It doesn't matter. You just have to have two. And then when you get a new one, no matter how old the old ones were, as long as the state can prove them, like can get the documents showing that those were convictions, they can use them to enhance your new one to a third offense. A third offense is a third degree felony. It carries 2 to 10 years in the prison system, so that you're talking about going to the penitentiary. You can be placed on probation for it, but in some counties, it may be that they have a policy against probation on DWI thirds. It's really up to the judge and the county that you're in, what their sort of philosophy is on that. In the bigger places like Harris County, Denton County, Dallas County, Tarrant County, places like that, if it's your first DWI third, so it's the first felony you've ever had, normally the state is going to recommend probation on the case as a plea bargain. This does not assume that you are going to, or presume that you're going to not go to trial, because maybe you have triable issues in this charge. But let's say you're not going to trial and you're trying to negotiate a plea bargain. The state may offer you probation. Probation could run anywhere from 2 to 10 years. So 2 would be pretty low on a felony DWI third probation offer, but it might be closer to like 4 or 8 years probation, might be something you'd more normally see. I have practiced in counties before where any probation offered on a DWI third was 10 years probation. That's a long time to be on probation. If you are placed on probation for third offense DWI, there are some days in jail you're going to have to serve. If you've watched our prior videos about DWI second offenses, you know that there's usually a minimum of 3 days in jail that you have to serve. Well, there's a minimum. You typically have to do 10 or more days in jail. Like I said, it could be more than that. The judge could sentence you all the way up to 180 if they wanted to, but you're going to have to serve a little bit of time. Your license is going to be suspended. You're going to have to do DWI classes. You're going to take the victim impact panel, a lot of similar things like you would have done on a first or second DWI probation. You may be ordered to have a SCRAM device put on. And if you want more information about SCRAM, we have a whole blog about that. So ignition interlock, SCRAM, license, suspension. The court can grant you driving privileges through an ignition interlock license if you petition and ask for one. So that would allow you to drive during the suspension period. And you're going to be closely monitored for alcohol use. I think for the clients that we have that end up on DWI third probation, one of the biggest issues that we see with them is if there is an alcohol problem and they continue to drink, they're looking at much more serious consequences on that probation than on a misdemeanor probation, because typically on a felony probation, they're going to give you a prison sentence and then they're going to suspend it for the period of probation. So since DWI third carries up to 10 years, let's say your probation offer is 8 years in prison, probated for 5. What that means is you're going to be sentenced to 8 years in prison, and that prison sentence is going to be suspended for 5 years to make sure you do everything you're supposed to do, don't get any more trouble, and at the end of the 5 years, you're discharged or should be discharged from probation. But let's say you mess up, you get another DWI, you continue drinking while you're on probation, you in other ways violate your probation, and you find yourself back in the court, the judge could revoke your probation and sentence you all the way up to that maximum you pled to. So in this case, it'd be 8. So you'd be looking at anywhere from 2 years in prison to 8 years in prison if you violate the terms and conditions on your third offense DWI. And when I say third offense, that's just what we call it in Texas. It could be your seventh DWI. It could be your 11th DWI. It doesn't matter how many you have. Well, it certainly matters for sentencing purposes, but the crime is still called DWI third. It just means you have at least two. And this is now your third or more. So it's serious. DWI third is serious. When we have people that come in that are charged with that, one of the first things I start looking at, in addition to the usual evaluation that we do on all cases, is do we have an alcohol problem going on, and what do we need to address that right now? Do any mitigation that might help with sentencing or plea bargaining in the case, in case that's the road we decide to go down. So you really have to kind of jump on these cases a little bit differently. I wouldn't say sooner, but differently than a misdemeanor DWI. So hopefully you find that helpful. If you want more detailed information, check out the blog that is in the link that you will see down below. I hope you found this useful, and come back and check out some of our other videos.